Welcome into the OBR streaming network. This is the OBR pregame show with Jacob Roach at Roachism13 and Quincy Carrier at Quen_C. What's up, Q? Didn't expect to see you here, brother. What's going on?
Well, this is my normal Monday slot, but the Browns play today. So, I guess it's being taken over by the Brad Ward experience. Can't do nothing about that.
Just taking over the airwaves. What's up, Jacob? How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's a good way to end a work day and start the week is maybe either pure bliss or pure disappointment. We'll see.
Yeah, let's. This is an interesting game tonight, gentlemen. Browns are coming off of a game that feels like it was about a month ago. Thursday night football win against the Steelers. The Broncos are riding high off 2-game win streak after being at 5-5 and looking pretty good at this point where they are sitting. They're a good team. They're a good team.
Playing the best 3 weeks of football the last month. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And all right. So let's start, though. You're watching the OBR streaming network. This is the pregame show. My name is Brad Ward. Hit like and subscribe on your way in or out. Thank you all for tuning in to the chat. Appreciate you all. Yeah, we'll get to your guys' questions and everything. If I see a good one, I'll star it, and we'll make sure we get back to it. So let's start with the I think Jack will be joining us too, and Fred might stop by. So we should have a full crew here. Let's start with the inactives list. This is fun tonight here. Let's do this. Inactive tonight, Cedric Tillman, Jedrick Wills, Sam Kamara, Miles Harden. Good to see Miles Harden back practicing. I'm excited to see him play, guys. I know it won't be tonight, but Miles is a guy that I was high on. And then Juan Thornhill tonight will also be inactive. But here are your other, losing my voice a little. Our other signed or elevations, both, I guess both. Signed Juwan Briggs to the active roster. Elevated Kadarius Toney. So the Toney experiment part 2 tonight. We'll see how that goes. Last time it was just one end around. That's all we got from Kadarius. It did not go well. Michael Woods, the second, which is an interesting elevation tonight.
Is his first active regular season game?
No,
he was active a couple of years ago in Deshaun's first year back, right? Because I remember
he was the one that Amari Cooper was throwing to when he threw that awful interception.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was just nothing but highlights.
Yeah, pretty much.
He flashed a little bit when he was, his first few games. He looked good. He's quick, twitchy.
I remember he had a really good camp his rookie year, right?
Yep. And then Mikey Trees, as Casey likes to call him. Yeah. So, and then he put on some weight though since then. So he had the injury and the suspension.
Oh no!
What does it say?
It said running backs don't matter.
Wow.
Love it. Good
wow.
stuff.
Browns should draft.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable from Jack Duffin in the Christmas sweater too. That's great. Gotta love it.
December hits. December hits. The Christmas jumpers are out.
And there you go. What's going on, Jack? How are you?
Good. Exciting times. I do like running through a few of the roster guys. Briggs being on, it's interesting. See if he's got a chance. See if Thrash has got a chance. And we're not asking him to do anything special. It's can Briggs be DT5 next year? Can Thrash be DT4? Not DT4, wide receiver 4. It's that chance. It's the one that, in a way, it'd be great for Zinter to get the rest of the season just to see can he be a starting guard next year or is he guard 3? These guys are getting a shot. They either take it or potentially they might not be on the team next year. They're not so much with Zinter and Thrash, but if they get a free agent and they draft one, Thrash is probably not going to be anything more than wide receiver 5 for 2 years. It could be brutal. If you get a chance, you've got to take it.
So the interesting thing here is, and I want to ask you guys this. So you call up Michael Woods. Kadarius Toney has been called up once before. It wasn't for a whole ton. Thrash saw a lot of playing time after Tillman went out with the concussion in the Pittsburgh game, but no targets down the stretch. So tonight, who are you guys looking forward to? I mean, do you expect them to give Woods legit reps out there, or is this just going to be Thrash and these other guys are there for depth?
Well, I was, excuse me, my voice has been all messed up for about a week now, but, I even talked to Casey Kinnaman earlier today about it, and it was a good point by him. If you're looking at a guy to replace Cedric Tillman, what Tillman gives you, that's actually Michael Woods, not Jamari Thrash. Like, correct. Jamari Thrash is that more, yards after catch, quick, explosive player. If you're looking for a dude with the big body, one thing about Michael Woods when he was coming out, I remember writing his draft profile, and one thing that I loved about it was he uses his frame to shield the ball from the defender, which is stuff that we've seen from Cedric Tillman. He's not quite the athlete that Tillman is, but if you're looking for quick slant in traffic, guy's going to hit you in the mouth as soon as you catch it kind of guy. And Jameis has gone to that more than a few times. And a guy that has sneaky long speed as well. That is Michael Woods. So I'm very interested to see where they work in both of those guys, just because a direct, quote unquote Tillman replacement, I think is more Woods than Thrash. But how does that actually play out?
Yeah, it's a good point. Bill in the chat saying Judy Woods outside, Thrash in the slot. Thrash could be auditioning to replace Moore this offseason if they didn't want to target Luther Burden in the NFL. What we're in the NFL draft. All right. Q, what are you looking for? You think this is more of depth and then they want to see more Thrash? Because that's kind of what I lean towards. Or do you think they want to take a real look at Michael Woods here?
I think if you're looking at the timelines of this, it would make sense if they view this as their final opportunity to get anything out of Michael Woods. Well, he was a 7th round pick, because he would be able to, he has a little bit of size on him, kind of a similar build to what Cedric Tillman does. So I could see them installing, it's not going to be 100% of what Cedric Tillman does in that offense, but I could see them giving him about 40-50% of it. And then splitting the other between, trying to get Kadarius Toney and seeing what you can get out of him. And then I think Thrash should probably be the one they're least worried about evaluating, just because he's a rookie. It's going to be tough for him because they might draft the wide receiver early in this draft, which might change the plan for him going forward. But they've let these guys hang around, right? Mike Woods was taking 2020 or something like that. So Jamari Thrash is going to have a couple of years here to get some opportunities. But I think they're looking at this okay, Mike Woods, it's getting long in the tooth. It's been a long time here. Let's see if there's anything worth their keeping. And then, Kadarius Toney, is this an experiment worth keeping on with, right? Now, I don't think this means they're going to do a ton of things with them. I also do you guys think he's going to return punts today? Because I have a bone to pick with that analysis of it, of the Kadarius Toney situation. Because I'm he has returned one punt good in his entire career.
I hope not. I really hope not. Yeah.
I forget who I was listening to, but they were mad that he's not returning punch yet. I'm he's not good at it. He just returned one punt that everybody saw, and now he's a great punt returner. So he's not a good punt returner. He can't catch. What about Kadarius Toney tells you trust that man focusing enough to do punts 24. He couldn't even be on sides.
Exactly. He didn't know where the line of scrimmage was. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw somebody make a point about how incompetent the Browns were because they weren't doing that with Kadarius. I'm that's not a good point. I think it's competent that they're not doing that with end arounds, easy stuff. You can't mess up an end around. You literally can't be on offsides on a motion end around. You can't. You can't. You can only like cause an illegal procedure because somebody else moves. So yeah, like
I agree.
that's what makes sense with Kadarius and seeing like, okay, is there anything there that you would trust him reasonably to do? He's going to be a cheap option. Like maybe they're like, hey, we can hit the lottery. He could be like an Elijah Moore replacement for cheaper with a little bit of upside there. Even though he doesn't really have the same game Elijah Moore has. So I don't know what the plan is with Kadarius Toney. But yeah, I think this is you probably get a good look at all of them. I think where Thrash is going to be interesting because he's going to be on the field a lot. And when Jameis scrambles, he loves to go to the guy who's like going to be on that far right position. And I think Jamari Thrash during the preseason and like in his career in college, one of the things he did really well was with the broken play. So if he gets opportunities to be in plays where like Jameis is throwing downfield, but he might not have his guy and he decides to scramble out, I do think there's a chance that Jamari Thrash could thrive there. But let's be real about this. Jameis is the homeboy of homeboys, and Jerry Jeudy is going up against his old team. Jameis is going to throw that ball to Jerry Jeudy about 20 times. Like this is somebody who defied coach's orders to get his homeboy an incentive at the end of the season for the Saints. He's going to do what it needs to be done for Jerry Jeudy to get that ball.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about Jeudy is what we found is that, and this is where it's interesting how they'll use Thrash tonight, is Jerry Jeudy is probably best, in my opinion, working out of the slot and then with Moore on the outside. They've had a lot of success doing that more recently than vice versa. Even though this, the size of them would speak otherwise, they're actually the opposite. I think Judy's better out of the slot and Moore's better outside. So, so what do you do with Thrash then? Because he's not really a true outside receiver, really. He's more of a slot guy. I guess he could be an outside guy.
From what I saw, like in his college tape, especially at like Georgia State, he is more of an outside guy than a slot guy. I think his body type puts him in that slot area, but his strengths are like he did a really good job with 50-50 balls at Georgia State. He didn't really do a good job of that at Louisville. When you saw him at the Senior Bowl, he did a really good job with kind of those deep 3-4 fields kind of routes, right? Like the top of your route trees and stuff. That's where I think he does his best. He's a good tracker of the football as well. Like that's a skill set that I think you could utilize if you throw the ball downfield. I feel so bad for him in the early part of the season because he did get some like snaps early in the season, but it was when Deshaun was out there, and Deshaun Watson was absolutely allergic to throwing that ball downfield. And the same could be said with DTR, who's just not going to do it, right? So hopefully, they use him kind of in the role that they envisioned him. I don't know how fast he is, like in pads in a NFL game. Like I know he ran a 4.5 at the combines. Like if he's able to get separation, this would be a good test. But I'm gonna be real. This is such a good secondary. It's gonna be impossible to expect anything out of a rookie, like especially a rookie getting his first real snaps here. So that's why I'm like, I don't want to get people too amped up on Jamari Thrash playing because then they're going to be disappointed if he's not productive. But if Pat Surtain's on him, what he's supposed to do about that situation at this point in his career, right? I think this is going to be a real test for Jerry Jeudy. They all going to know that Jameis is going to throw that ball to him. And David Njoku as well, who is like quietly, while all these other numbers have gone up, he has been a little bit disappointing. As a receiving tight end at least. So we'll see how they divvy this up. But if Jameis throws that ball 40 times, I promise you Jerry Jeudy's going to have like 15 targets by then.
Yeah, I agree. Thrash ran a 4.46. What do you think here, Jack? Who's the guy you're looking for tonight in this? And we'll get into the defense in a second here because they are playing it. This defense is dynamite. Go ahead.
So interestingly, last game, if we look at the average wide receivers per snap on the season, we're looking at 2.76 wide receivers per snap. That dropped by a full 0.5 to 2.26 last game. Weather's probably a factor, but it was interesting when Tillman was out, they just went to 2 wide receivers. It wasn't kind of a, hey, Thrash is going to get in there. Thrash played 21% of snaps, 19% the week before. So not much difference. Whereas wide receivers really jumped. It's a 1.2 average on the season, went up to 1.57. Offensive linemen at average 5.06 on the season. went up a little bit to 5.12. So that's just one to keep an eye on, that they, rather than shift to a different wide receiver, they just dropped the amount. Maybe with a full week of practice, they might work out that they've got someone other than it's just more Tillman and Judy. But that is one that we'll know tomorrow when the numbers come out or as the game goes on, because in all honesty, trying to work out whether it's a second tight end on an extra sort of 5 of 20 plays is not the easiest thing to watch it when it's live. But when you get the numbers tomorrow, it might be pretty clear that that's the case. So if Thrash can get out there and they trust him to play a lot of snaps, that's going to be really telling. Whereas if he's still 25% of snaps, a third of snaps tomorrow, it doesn't speak positively for his development.
Do you think that they might run more tight ends out there, Jack, because they might just want to run this more a little bit? Like, do you think there's ways for them to run 2 wide receivers out there a little bit more that's not necessarily an indictment of Thrash based on like how this game plays out, given that they might want to avoid the secondary?
I think they'll still be keen because they've been pretty confident all season of running the wide receivers out there just to spread everything. And to be fair, none of us would have predicted the Tillman explosion that we saw, because there was no evidence of that before he went in there and delivered. So it wouldn't shock me if Thrash is suddenly thrown in there and makes a major stake for time. But I don't think they'll go too heavy on the 12 because they've not trusted Akins that much. His snaps were dropping. He was behind Swain quite often, which blows my mind based on the talent that Akins brings to the table. So it's one that I think we'll probably see the uptick of wide receivers again. But it's one to note and just keep an eye on.
Here's why I would push back just a little bit on that to Q's point is that, or his question, this defense, Vance Joseph, they love to blitz, right? They're going to bring exotic 5-6 man pressures. You've got a troubled, left tackle in there. I think at times tonight, if you really want to push the ball down the field, you're going to have to rely on your Moore and Judy to just win and keep guys in to protect. So that's why I think you might see a little more 12 personnel tonight. Personally, just a personal thought. Also, comment here. This leads into our next topic. Bill Sparks and Njoku legacy game incoming. Broncos have allowed 63 catches for 523 yards to opposing tight ends this season. The linebacker group for Denver has tackling issues. Jonathan Cooper is very good. Here is the Broncos defensive rankings: 3rd in total yards, 8th in passing, 6th in rushing, 2nd in points allowed, 1st in sacks with 44, 15 takeaways. They feature edge Nick Bonita with 10 sacks. Maybe the best corner in the league this year, Pat Surtain, and linebacker Jonathan Cooper, who also has 5 sacks. This defense is dynamite across the board. How do we attack this defense tonight, Jacob? How do you do it, man?
First off, I want to apologize. One of my biggest draft misses of all time is Nick Bonito. I said he was going to be garbage, but here we are. Here we are a couple of years later. I look like an idiot. That's the great question, right? I mean, step one's do not throw at Pat Surtain. Don't get I understand that Jerry Jeudy, there's a good chance that's where Jerry Judy's going to be, but I really I know at Jameis, you have a lot of confidence in your arm and everything.
Yeah, he's not going to listen to that. I don't think. I'm just saying. I'm just being honest. I
was about to say, Jameis Winston got that first step. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What's next?
Okay.
Get past that.
I ain't afraid of nobody. He should be afraid of Jameis. That's what he said to that one. Can he stop Jameis is the question. Then Jameis Winston walks into that room with, you don't sit here and worry about Pat Surtain. He should.
Don't see it.
As soon as I said it, I knew.
He could throw 3 interceptions to Pat Surtain, and he's like, no way he's catching the 4th. I'm definitely going at him now. This is the good and bad of how Jameis works. He has truly, how they say short-term memory? Jameis don't have short-term memory. He got no memory, which
You've
means
got
he just
to.
gonna do what he feels right.
100%.
I think what I've seen when you're going up with an embattled, Jermaine and Fetty at left tackle in a team that leads the league, and get the ball out of your hands quickly.
Yes.
Don't hold on to it any longer than you need to. I understand you're going to take your shot plays, your play action, you want to push it down the field, but don't give them the opportunity to put you behind the sticks time and time again with the sacks. Just get it out into the playmakers. Let Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku do their yards after the catch kind of thing. I think that's step one, and then you just kind of build on it from there.
Q, what do you think? What's the plan of attack tonight? As you know, I ran through all the things that they're in the top 10 for, including the first in sacks, 15 takeaways. How do you attack this defense?
It's going to be a battle in the interior, I think, on both sides of the ball. I think this Browns defense, when we notice that they look like the old Browns defense and they're moving and everything feels good, it's usually because the defensive line is kicking ass, right? Like the Browns defense is only going to be as good as, Jim Schwartz's defense, only going to be as good as those defensive lines are going to play, because how he likes to call up these coverages and these sim pressures is, hey, man, we ain't got nothing at the 3 seconds. Like, it is what it is, right? Greg Newsome running east-west, it's a problem, right? So if you could get the pressure before they can cut that route and get Greg Newsome moving left to right, which, by the way, it's the saddest victory lap of all time, because I remember making this point in the preseason and people were like, hey, what are you talking about? Greg Newsome runs a 4-3. I'm like, watch him move laterally. Watch him move laterally every time. He's like 3 steps behind, which is concerning given that he plays slot, and a lot of those routes go across the field. So especially in man. So it's probably why they want to play some zone more often, right? Especially if Greg's going to be there. But anyways, if you're the Browns offense, Wyatt Teller, Joe Bitonio, Ethan Posick, they got to play like they did last week, right? That interior has to show up in the run game and in the pass game, because I think that's where you can attack them, right? They run that little 3-4, so they're a little bit wider and a little bit lighter on the interior. They don't really – do they run a dedicated nose? I don't believe they do run a dedicated nose that much. So they're pretty spread out there in the interior. You can stack and create some rush lanes that way with guard center guard combos in the run game. And I think that will be a big path here to get Nick Chubb going, or any running back on this team going. If you're Jameis Winston, they're going to be aggressive, right? On the quick throw stuff, right? Like, I would imagine that the Broncos are going to be aggressive. And I hate to say it, this is a risky way to try to win a football game, but we're 3-8. I think risk is fine at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Let Jameis be Jameis. Like, yeah. I think it's going to be tempting to be like, hey, Jameis, play a very conservative game plan, kind of take in there and think that the Broncos are going to see this and go, okay, we're going to test how long Jameis can be in that. Thing is, that's probably not how they want to go. Like, the corners want to go in playing this kind of game on Monday night. They've been game planning for Jameis. They're ready to go and make a fucking play, right? Like, that's probably going to be what they've been thinking about it, right? Like, they have certain quarterbacks circled where they're like, I can get a couple off this dude and get on to the first team all-pro defense this year. So, yeah, Jameis going to throw 2 interceptions in this game. He might turn it over 3 times in this game. But if he stays aggressive and keeps going downfield, I think the aggressiveness of the Denver Broncos secondary could be something that you can take advantage of if Jameis is having one of his more accurate days. It's a gamble. We don't know which Jameis is going to show up. I often say the decision-making for Jameis is not what's the erratic part, right? Like, the decision-making is usually, like, fine if you're looking at this from a quarterback with elite arm talent standpoint. Like, oh, yeah, Josh Allen would make that decision. The problem with Jameis is that he does not have elite arm talent every game. He has iffy arm talent sometimes. Sometimes he makes throws that look amazing and he's super accurate and you go, oh, my God, that's the dude. And sometimes, you wonder where he was throwing it, but then you look at the film and you're like, nah, he was trying to do this. That makes sense. It just didn't go anywhere near that, right? Like, that's just what the Jameis experience is. He's going to be a little bit inaccurate every once in a while, but I think if you're the Browns, try to take some shots early and get the Denver Broncos uncomfortable, right? Because if you start doing the DTR game plan and then, Pat Surtain gets to crash in on a couple slants and gets to celebrate. Now these guys are going to feel comfortable. They're going to be juiced up at home. Get them feeling a little bit uncomfortable, right? Make them have to worry. Hey, is my safety going to be back there? Test it, right? Like, see what happens. Go towards that PJ Locke side of the field. And maybe don't attack Pat Surtain in the first 10 yards of the route. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. But if he might run it and you don't think it's like cover 3 or something, he's not going to carry all the way, or he has to have a safety help over top. Test that connection, right? Test the connection in the pass through from his linebacker. Like, don't just shy away from that whole half of the field just because Pat's there. Go at it and see what happens, because, I think that's the last thing they're expecting to happen. And, if this were a playoff game, if we had a better quarterback, I think I would have a more strategically sound game plan for you. But this is not the point of the season where the Browns are. They are not a good enough team to just have these strategically sound game plans because they just don't have the quarterback right now. But, I would say go ahead, attack. They know you're going to go at Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, they're going to come at you. So, sometimes hit underneath David Njoku, see what happens there, right? Like, I think they're going to be really aggressive. I think they're going to really want to make a play. I think they're going to be eager to get an interception. So do your best to go right back at them and see what they do.
Yeah, I agree. Mainly because I think they may have a really hard time running the football. Go ahead, Jack. What do you think?
Put the ball in the air. It's always the best way to go.
Right.
Have the full Jameis Winston roller coaster,
Running
but
backs.
It's going to move the chains. And if, there's a 40-yard interception, so be it. I'm not that worried. It's basically a punt at the end of the day. So keep the ball moving in the air. Put up yards or lead to points, and then defensively just stick to man. You had Benjamin Albright on earlier in the week, and he was saying the Bo Nix is great against zone, struggled against man.
Yep.
The man's our strength, stick to man, and let him prove it. And if the rookie does really well against man, so be it. But if not, you're looking at a really good spot. And I'm more cared about how the offense performs than the actual result at the end of the game, because we could have a scrappy win and it's not going to make me feel positive about next season. We could have an amazing offensive performance where we're putting up 20, 24 points consistently for the rest of the season, and then I'm feeling really good about where this team can go, and as well it might be a better draft spot. So there's benefits of both ways, but performances offensively are the most important thing between now and the end of the season. More important than results, more important than how the defense performs, because that's going to give us the basis for how 2025 looks.
You know what else will give you a good look at how 2025 looks? Core Home Fitness, baby. Bring it in your house, put it in there. You want to look better in 2025? That's how you do it. CoreHomeFitness.com. Check out their assortment of lifting equipment, especially their top-rated adjustable dumbbells by the New York Times and Men's Health bestseller. They are also rated a Best Buy by Consumer Reports. Check out their videos and other products like the Glute Drive Plus and Fight Master. Crush your goals as you make your New Year's resolution and go into 2025. Make that resolution to get better, stronger, more healthy, and do it in the confines of your own home with Core Home Fitness. They will get you there. They've got a U.S.-based support team, fast shipping, hassle-free returns, you name it. They know what they're doing. Again, check out CoreHomeFitness.com for the ultimate in-home fitness equipment. They are awesome for stepping up to sponsor the OBR, and we appreciate them greatly. The website is right there. Once again, CoreHomeFitness.com. Go check it out. Makes a great gift this time of year as well for your loved ones looking to make a change into 2025. All right, guys, you're watching the OBR streaming network. Hit like and subscribe. My name is Brad Ward. That's Jacob Roach, Quincy Carrier, and Jack Duffin. All right, so we talked about the defense of the Broncos. The offense, Bo Nix, 16 interceptions or 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. All of those interceptions, I did this research when I was interviewing Benjamin Albright earlier. All interceptions thrown in losses. So all 6 thrown in their losses. none of them inside their own 20. And every single one of his interceptions was thrown when they were losing or behind in the game, which is interesting as well. So you've got, he's putting up these numbers. His main guy is Cortland Sutton, although they have found some value in Devon Vele. Interesting story there with him. He's only played 8 games, but he's got 361 yards and a touchdown. He's kind of fallen into their number 2 pass catcher. He's a guy that spent 2 years away on I think a Mormon mission trip before going to school in Utah. Weird, kind of a different story. Why he's a little bit older, 26 now and coming into his prime, but they like him a lot. Lil Jordan Humphrey, a guy that came over with Peyton. Yeah, he's there. Charlie Franklin.
He in UFL for a while.
He might have been.
Yeah, I remember watching him in the spring, right? Like,
yeah, he was with
Birmingham.
He was with Peyton with the Saints too, so he brought him over. Josh Reynolds is on this wide receiver core. Marvin Mims has made it out of the doghouse and is actually getting snaps now in their rotation, as he was in the doghouse for a long time. And then Adam Troutman is their number 1 tight end. So that's who they're going to throw the ball to. They have a 3-headed monster at running back. I don't know if you want to call it that, but they like to give it to Javonte the most. But they also have rookie Audric Estime from Notre Dame. And what's Jaleel McLaughlin, right?
Youngstown State University alum here.
You go. There you go.
Of that, and the former Notre Dame College, one of the greatest D3 running backs of all time, and greatest Youngstown State running back of all time.
And there it is. I did not know any of that. So there you have it. So Bo Nix in that group right there has been putting up 30 points a game recently in their last 2 wins to beat Atlanta and somebody else. Who'd they beat? The Cowboys too? Something like that. Anyways, to get to 7-5, how do you slow this team down? We mentioned earlier. You mentioned earlier, Jack. Well, I'll go back to you, Jack, since you're looking tired right now, and I want to keep you awake here. But we're going back. You mentioned the interview with Benjamin Albright saying that man-to-man is the way to go against these guys. Nix has struggled against that. He also has struggled big time against pressure. So, and they have the 8th best offensive line in the NFL at this point. So
he's only pressured 29.5% of his dropbacks.
Yeah. So how do you get to Nix? How do you disrupt Nix? You got Garrett a sack and a half away from being the first guy ever to get to 100 before the age of 29. Can he get it tonight? All those things are in play. So how do you do this defensively tonight, Jack?
Well, let us start with the player on the defensive line with the highest career pressure rate, and that is Isaiah McGuire. So he actually leads Myles Garrett currently, which is not a bad place to be when you're talking about defensive stats. He's yet to break the 50% threshold in a game, amount of snaps that he's played, and that's something that I'm really keeping an eye on, because if he can cross that, and hey, he's played 48% 3 times this season, 46% in another game. But 60% is where you want to get to. We're not talking anything crazy here where Smith tended to play 60% of snaps. So if he can push that a little bit higher and maybe do 50% for the rest of the season, we're talking about he can hit 60% and replace Smith next year. I'm less worried. People get really hyped up on sacks. Sacks happen on if you got a sack 10% of your pass rushes, you'd be elite. And it's like, I want something. Well, not even that, 5%, you'd be up there. It just happens not enough times for me to judge it, and it's not consistent year to year, whereas pressure rate is much more stable. So Isaiah McGuire has the potential to be the number 2. He's got a chance to prove this for the rest of the season. Okoronkwo's not looked the same this year. That's even before he was asked to step up, but he's doing an okay job. Myles Garrett remains a true freak. As you said, the sack numbers are coming. There's no reason why he can't legitimately be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Probably not going to get it because repeats are rare unless you're breaking like major milestones. So that's fine there. But the D-line's doing a phenomenal job. Shelby Harris, undoubtedly in my eyes, is the best performing veteran player on the team based on what he's being paid. I think he earns more of $4.5 million than Myles Garrett does with $25 million a year, which is a fantastic achievement for anyone. He's up the amount of snaps he's playing. And I think the D-line's in a good spot. The linebackers they've been great all season, with the exception of Taysom Hill destroying them. So why not? Let's hear it again. Can Hickman do it on the back end? He's got a shot here with Thornhill. We spoke about some other young guys. Hickman is trending towards being the team's third safety next year, replacing Rodney McLeod on the depth chart. He has a shout tonight, the rest of the season, to say, actually, I should be the starting free safety next year. He's either got to take that leap, or he sits there as a number 3 and they spend some money on free agency, because Thornhill is out the door at the end of the season. I don't think that's an exclusive. You have not really been reading the tea leaves if you don't see that one coming.
No, he did play a great game on Thursday night, though. I got to say that he did play really well against Pittsburgh and redeemed himself from the week prior. But I agree with you that may be the outcome. How do you slow down this attack here, Q? What are you looking at, man? How do you slow this team down? And, we mentioned the man-to-man. Are you mixing stuff up? Are you going to have to bring – this offensive line is pretty good. Are you going to have to bring blitzes? How do you want to attack this thing?
Yeah, you can't give Bo Nix extra time, right? Like, you can't let him process it and see it and figure out where he is. He is actually at his most dangerous, above 2.5 seconds time to throw. What you want Bo Nix to have to do is basically simplify the game for him and just get pressure and have him really worried about where Myles is, right? If he has to account for Myles, he's not going to be thinking about scrambling. He's not going to be thinking about trying to make those plays out of structure. He's just going to be kind of forced into reacting at that point. And when you get him to react, that's where, he starts to look a little bit more mediocre, right? Because athletically, when it comes to react stuff, he's not Lamar Jackson, where it's like, you absolutely don't want Lamar to be reacting, right? Because he has those amazing instincts there. He's somebody who you want him to stay away from the book and closer to the video game. You want him reacting. So that's going to be a huge part of it. I wouldn't blitz, but I think if you're Jim Schwartz, this is a good day for figuring out, moving Myles around a lot, right? Like, no, you don't want to blitz. No, you don't want to send 6, 7 all the time, because Bo Nix he's a veteran quarterback. He's 28 years old or whatever he is. He's 25 years old. He's seen a lot of like different looks thrown at him at his like 4 different college days throughout his college career.
A lot of football.
So he's seen a lot of football. If you don't hurry him up, he's going to be able to diagnose a basic sim pressure. And Jim Schwartz doesn't do anything that complex that like Bo Nix would not be aware of. So, hey, man, no disrespect to Brandon Wheaton, but like, come on, man. I watched that. He was never 16 touchdowns, 6 touches.
Bo Nix is.
I wish Brandon Wheaton was that good. Josh Gordon would have had like 2,500 yards that one year if he was that good. But, I think it's going to be about getting pressure on Bo Nix, but being creative about how you're going to use your front 4 to be able to do that, right? Like, I think Isaiah McGuire being able to kind of play inside and outside a little bit helped you on that, because then you can move Myles inside and then have Shelby next to him or have Dalvin next to him to try to like fight off the center. I think that's going to be key. Have him thinking about Myles pre-snap. Just basically, that's the big tool you have is Myles Garrett. That's going to disrupt all of this pre-processing that Bo Nix likes to do, right? Because that's what Bo Nix does well. He pre-processes well. If you have that chess piece of Myles moving around, and all of a sudden he might not be confident in throwing to where he thinks that ball's supposed to go because he's not sure where Miles is. So use that to your advantage, and also let Denzel eat, right? Like don't let this be one of those games where we're hiding Denzel Ward or we're just letting Denzel Ward sit with a 10-yard cushion on the opposite side because that's what the coverage dictates. Like, no, let Denzel Ward get up there, and don't let Bo Nix get those easy, comfortable throws that we love to let quarterbacks get, especially on second and third down.
Especially to Sutton, yeah,
like I don't care if you give up a big play here or there, but you just can't let them get into a comfortable rhythm here. So I think that's going to be paramount. Don't put Denzel Ward in a cover 2 situation where he has to like communicate with Ronnie Hickman today. He sucks at it. Those two particularly, they suck at it. So just let Denzel be a man all day, because if I have to see him point at Ronnie Hickman and be like, what happened there? I'm going to lose my mind, Brad.
I feel you. No, I feel you.
Eat on your own merit. Like, I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's going to be key for this team defensively, is just moving around Myles Garrett. What kind of performance are you going to get from your interior guys? Are we going to get a good Dalvin Tomlinson game, or are we going to get an Dalvin Tomlinson game? Are we going to get Shelby Harris playing well against his former team here in Denver? Obo Okoronkwo, Myles Garrett, what can they give you as well? Linebacker-wise, hey, Jaleel McLaughlin's going to have a day, man. Like, they're going to get Devin Bush moving left or right. It's Devin Bush. I'm too harsh on him because sometimes he does play well, and I do have to give him credit, and he hasn't been as bad as I thought he's going to be. But there are some days where I'm like, nah, it's a real liability. Devin Bush can't move sideline to sideline. It is what it is. So I am worried about
Diabate. Yeah,
I am worried about that really working on him. The delayed handoff stuff too. I get that that's part of like how Jim Schwartz plays and that they're going to be aggressive in the interior, but can we get one linebacker, just like one to peek over there every once in a while? Like just one linebacker to watch the A gap for like an extra second. It's not like you doing anything in coverage. I've seen like one linebacker pass breakup. I don't think it's going to hurt that much, right? Devin Bush is not going to get the right depth anyway to get that PBU. Just watch the A gap. It's okay. Like it's up to Denzel's that probably gets stopped anyways. So yeah, just do something about the delayed handoffs because that's been killing us too.
Yeah, agreed. Bill Sparks pointing out another fantastic statistic in the chat. Have to get after Bo Nix 22nd EPA per drop back versus the blitz is Nix. Got to generate pressure early enough. So yeah, I think you got to pick and choose your spots on that blitz stuff.
And you brought up an excellent point too, right? A lot of his interceptions are when he's trailing. Get him uncomfortable. What happens when you're trailing? You're not comfortable. Now you're like, I got to throw downfield. I got to abandon my game. What was Bo Nix in college? He was stick and spam, right? Like that's what he liked to do. Throw stick, kind of stay in the rhythm, get 5 here, 7 here. Let's go to a 3rd and 2. Let's get something there, right? Let's get into that rhythm. Let's take a shot sometime in this drive. And that's what Bo Nix liked to do. But if you get behind and all of a sudden that script, it's over with. You get him in 3rd and 9, all of a sudden, you're running red zone scissors or something like that. Like, and he's not comfortable with those concepts as much.
To that point, because I think it matters so much, the game script tonight. If you're the Browns and you win the toss, do you take the ball?
Ooh, that could backfire so badly.
I know, but I mean, you could try. I mean, you know how good Stefanski
I think if you're
is,
the Browns, you try to be aggressive defensively if they get the ball first. And get with a quick 3 and out, and then try to build off of it, right? Okay. Like I think that's more or less because what you don't want to do is go 3 and out, or God forbid, Jameis Winston throws an interception on that first drive, and then let the offense go in and capitalize on top of that to start the game. So I still think, even though the plan is to be aggressive and try to get points early on them, I think the plan should also be, hey, let's make him uncomfortable first. The first way you make him uncomfortable is pressure, get him behind the line of scrimmage, get him behind the sticks, and then you put points up and focus on making him uncomfortable because he's down more than like one score,
Yes. First quarter would be critical. Jacob, what do you think, man?
Yeah, like we talk about the numbers with Bo Nix against man coverage. If there's one thing we talked about this with when Watson was still playing, a lot of the like, just take what the defense gives you. Like, get there. If there's an answer, don't try to press and make a hero play. Bo Nix is the ultimate. He will take what you give him. If you give him a quick and easy answer, he will take it all day. Bo Nix does not care if he needs to nickel and dime you down the field.
Unless they're losing.
And then he starts pressing. Yeah, he starts pressing. He starts trying to make plays and things like that. I just think that, like, you talk about the man coverage, getting physical press coverage, things like, if Q talked about it, if you play 10 yards off, he's going to hit Cortland Sutton. And Cortland Sutton's going to shake somebody loose. And, it's be aggressive in coverage, not just be aggressive as in the pass rush, but because if you just sit back and kind of let the play come to you, Bo Nix will be perfectly fine with that. Like, if you're sitting back there, we've seen some situations where they're given 10, 15 yards cushion. Yeah. Bo Nix will just destroy you if you do something like that, man. I just get up, be physical at the line of scrimmage and as you with the defensive backs, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think you're right. All of which are good comments and thoughts on how to play this team. Listen, man, this is a good team. They're well coached. They know what they know how they're learning how to win. Go ahead.
Jacob hit on something. You basically got to approach this game like you're playing Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
Right. Like, okay, all the stuff that Kirk can do, it's basically what Bo Nix can do. Like, even like the kind of, when Kirk was younger, and this makes me feel old. When Kirk was younger, he could run around a little bit. And kind of like, even if like that's it, that was his counter to, you're just gonna man me, is I'm just gonna run, get like 7 yards here. You're gonna be super annoyed by it because I wear like baggy sleeves and got 7 yards on your defense. And then you're gonna get out of all of that. I feel like the bad swag was on purpose to be like, he got 8 yards. Blitz him. Like, no more man after that. But yeah, it's kind of like that same game plan where it's like, okay, if you let him lull you to sleep, Bo Nix has proven throughout his college career, he has no problem playing boring football. He loves boring football. He will play the most boring football game that you allow him to play. This is the opposite of Jameis, right? Where I bet the Denver Broncos plan is going to be, he's not going to want to be boring all game, right? And they're going to give him all the stuff that you would want to give him early. James is going to want to take a shot. We're going to try to sneak one off. Like, I bet when the Browns are going to hit like a play action with the post over the middle of the field, and that's when they're going to sneak a safety underneath it, right? Because they know that James is going to take the candy. That's going to be something that's in their game plan. But if you're the Browns, you got to have the opposite game plan. He's not going to take the candy. He doesn't like candy. He's one of them kids who like licorice, right? Like, he's just eating his vegetables and his broccoli, and it's just annoying. But that's how you have to play against Bo Nix, right? You got to just understand he wants to be boring. He wants to be comfortable. He wants to go to Kohl's. You got to make him shop at Spencer's. That is the game plan for today.
I love that. I love that. That is perfect. Absolutely. Perfect. All right. Let's wrap this up. We're getting close to game time here. So let's go around one more time. Give me a few thoughts and your prediction for tonight. Jack, let's start with you, brother.
I'm going to go 27-24. I'm going to give it to the Broncos. But I think this is going to be close. I think this is one that will just come down to whoever gets the least interceptions and turnovers. And it might be one where it's 2-1 either way, and whoever gets on the right side of that wins. But it should be a fun game. I think you'll continue to see points. Both of these teams aren't afraid to put up yardage, move the ball. So I think we're in for a fun game. And that's what you want with these primetime games. If they want me to stay up till 4:30 in the morning, they better do something to excite me.
There you go. That's what I want to hear. All right. Yeah, they better. I think they'll be. I expect this Browns team to be fired up. I expect them to play well tonight because of the bright lights, because of the Monday Night Football. We saw what they did on Thursday. I expect them to be ready to play tonight. What do you got, Q?
I think Jack's going to be right at home with this because there's going to be a lot of kicking football in this one. I think both teams are going to have success getting up and down the field, but I do think both teams are going to struggle fitting this ball in the end zone once the field gets condensed, especially the Browns. I'm going to go with Dustin Hopkins getting a reformation game, right? A reclamation game for him. 18-15 Browns. I think it's gonna be a field goal off. I think this feels like a field goal. Remember, this is Browns and Broncos. This is not gonna be a normal game, right? Like, this is gonna be this is the Browns game versus the AFC West. All of these games have been weird this year. They've always been weird. This is gonna be a weird one. I think this is one where we get a field goal off because both teams can get to the red zone consistently. It's like going to be one of those that you don't even realize it's a field goal off because, like, I know both teams are moving the ball well, but they're both just not scoring. And then we'll like look here and it's like it's 12-9 in the third quarter. But yeah, I think it's going to be about 15-18. I think we're going to get nothing but field goals, maybe a missed extra point, something there, right, to make it spicy. But I think kicking is going to be a big factor in this one, whether the Browns win or lose, because it's about time that we start remembering that Justin Hopkins is having a weird season again, right? Like, wasn't he in Denver at some point in his career?
I think he was.
Probably.
I think he was.
He had a lot of dudes from Denver on the team.
Yeah. So I checked the weather report to that point of kicking. 40 degrees to 38 degrees, slight wind, 0 precipitation. So it should be fine tonight. Just a little chilly. That's all, which is actually not even that chilly for Denver. So,
well, that altitude too, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to be more willing to kick, I would guess. From
further distances.
And then when he has some experience there, I can see him like get rattling off a good game here and people being like, all right, we'll keep him for another offseason.
Yep. Yeah. he needs one. What do you got for me, Jacob?
I wanted to change, but I'm not going to. I'll do 23-20 Broncos. I think that a very close game at the end. Concerned about the left tackle situation and a potential turnover from Jameis in a big moment. And I think that kind of ultimately seals the fate tonight.
Yeah. So my biggest thing, my biggest points here are you had a really good plan against Pittsburgh to slow down their pass rush. You have to have an excellent plan tonight, even if that means keeping guys in, chip in. This is a pass rush that's going to try to create pressure. Vance Joseph is going to be bringing the drama at Jameis. So you got to slow that down. Give him time to put the ball on the field. Don't be conservative. Let your guys try to win. Jimmy's versus Joe's, one-on-one, man-on-man. Rely on your receivers. Rely on your corners. I think they can win at times, and Jameis will find them. You got to play this game with some aggressiveness. You can't play conservative here. There's nothing to lose here. Right?
There's nothing to conserve.
Right. Yeah, there's nothing to conserve. There's nothing to hold back. Let it go, baby. This is perfect for Jameis. Let him throw it. All right, Jack. Try to stay awake, brother. I appreciate you hanging in there with us. Thank you guys hanging in for the OBR pre-game show. We will see you right after the game for the post-game show. Keep it locked here at the OBR and have a wonderful night. Go Browns, baby.